Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to get into something that can honestly save you a ton of time, money, and just frustration. We're talking about how to diagnose car problems like a real pro. So let me ask you this. Have you ever been in this situation? The check engine light comes on, you Google the code, you buy a new sensor, you swap it out, and nothing. The light is still on, the problem is still there, and you're out like $100. It is so frustrating, right? It feels like you're just throwing parts at a car, hoping one of them sticks. Well, there is a much, much better way. See, professional technicians, they don't guess. They follow a logical, step-by-step process. It's like a roadmap that lets them systematically hunt down the real cause of the problem. And today, we're going to walk through that exact workflow together. Okay, let's dive in. Here's our game plan. We're going to cover the philosophy of stop guessing, then walk through understanding the symptom, inspecting the basics, scanning for codes, analyzing the data, and finally, testing and verifying the fix. This is the whole shebang. So the whole foundation of professional diagnostics is this simple idea: work easy to hard. What does that mean? It means you always start with the simplest, cheapest, easiest checks first. I mean, why would you spend 3 hours tearing a dashboard apart looking for a broken wire when the real problem might just be a 5-cent fuse you didn't see? This one simple idea will save you so much time and effort, it's not even funny. So, step 1. Before you even pop the hood, before you grab a single tool, you need to put on your detective hat. Seriously. This whole step is about gathering clues, asking the right questions, and really observing what the car is telling you. And you have to get really specific here. What exactly are you seeing, hearing, or feeling? Is it a high-pitched squeal that only happens when you brake? Well, that's probably your brake pad wear indicators screaming at you. Or maybe it's a deep hum sound that gets louder when you turn left. That's a classic sign of a bad wheel bearing. The more details you can nail down, the better your clues are going to be. And you should never underestimate asking about the car's recent history. There's this great story about a technician who was stumped by a Beetle convertible top that just wouldn't work. He checked everything, the motors, the switches, the wiring, nothing. Finally, he just asked the owner, "Has anything weird happened with the car lately?" And she says, "Oh yeah, a few weeks ago I found this little fuse on the floor mat." Bingo. That was the golden nugget of information. He looked at the fuse panel, saw the empty slot for the convertible top, popped the fuse back in, and problem solved. Minutes, not hours, all because of one simple question. Okay, so once we've played detective, now we can get our hands dirty with step 2, the basic inspection. This is all about looking for the really obvious stuff. You would be absolutely amazed at how many big problems are caused by something super, super simple. You want to just run through a quick checklist. Look at the battery terminals. Are they clean and tight? Any vacuum hoses cracked or disconnected? Are all the fluids topped off? But here's the big one. Please, please check all of the fuses, not just the one you think is related. Sometimes a blown fuse in a totally different circuit can cause the weirdest symptoms. And hey, while you're looking at fluids, check their condition. Is the engine oil milky? Does the transmission fluid smell burnt? These are huge clues. All right, now that we've handled the physical inspection, it's time to bring in the technology. We're going to grab an OBD2 scanner, plug it in, and basically have a conversation with the car's computer. Let's see what it has to say. When you scan the vehicle, what you're really looking for are diagnostic trouble codes, or DTCs for short. The best way to think of a DTC is like a digital breadcrumb. The car's computer is constantly monitoring everything, and when it sees something wrong in a specific system, it logs a code. It's the computer's way of saying, "Hey, you should start looking over here." Now, you gotta know that not all codes are created equal. You've got your generic codes, which usually start with a P0. These are standardized across all cars. So a P0301 is a cylinder 1 misfire on a Honda, a Ford, a BMW. Doesn't matter. But then you have manufacturer-specific codes, which usually start with a P1. And these are unique. A P1445 on a Ford means something totally different than a P1445 on a Toyota. So knowing the difference is key. And listen, if you take one thing away from this section, let it be this. A trouble code points you to a system, not a specific part. It is not a command to go buy a new part. If you get a code for your evaporative emission system, that could be a dozen different things: a bad gas cap, a cracked hose, a faulty valve. The code just tells you where the problem is. It doesn't tell you what the problem is. That's our job to figure out. And that brings us perfectly to step 4, which is analyzing the data. So you've got your symptoms, you've done your visual check, and you've got a trouble code. This is where we put it all together. This is where the real thinking begins. So you're sitting there with all these clues, a code, some noises, maybe a visual cue. Now what? How do you actually connect those dots and figure out what's really going on? Well, this is where you dig deeper with your scan tool. You can look at live data, which shows you what all the sensors are reporting in real time. You can also look at freeze frame data, which is like a snapshot of what the car was doing, engine speed, temperature, throttle position, at the exact moment the fault happened. Then you can take that code and look up the official manufacturer's test procedure. It's literally a flowchart that walks you through a series of tests to logically narrow down the possibilities. Now we're at the final, and honestly, the most critical part of the whole process: testing our theory before we spend any money, and then verifying the fix. This is what truly separates a professional from a part swapper. And the guiding principle here is simple: test, don't guess. You never, ever replace a part until you have hard proof from a test that it has actually failed. So you use all your data to form a hypothesis. Like, okay, I think it's a bad ground connection. Then you grab the right tool and design a test to prove it, once and for all. Here's a perfect real-world example. Let's say you suspect a bad ground wire. Now, you could just check it with a multimeter, and it might read 0 ohms of resistance. Looks perfect, right? But that doesn't tell you if that wire can actually carry any electricity under a load. A pro will do what's called a load test. You can do this with a simple headlight bulb. You hook it into the circuit, and if that bulb shines bright, you know the ground is solid. But if it's dim or doesn't light up at all, you just proved that connection is weak, even though the meter said it was fine. That's testing, not guessing. And after you replace the part that you've proven is bad, you're still not done. This is huge. You have to verify the repair. Clear out all the old codes, then take the car for a drive and try to recreate the exact same conditions that caused the problem in the first place. Then come back, plug the scanner in one last time, and make sure no codes have returned. If it's all clear, then and only then have you confirmed the fix. So let's just quickly recap that entire professional mindset. Step 1, understand the symptom inside and out. Step 2, gather all your data, what you see, what you hear, and what the computer says. Step 3, analyze all that data to see the big picture. Step 4, test, don't guess, to pinpoint the exact failure. And finally, step 5, verify that your repair actually worked. When you follow this structured process, everything changes. You stop throwing parts at a problem, and you start being a problem solver. You work smarter, not harder, and you actually get to the root cause and fix it right the first time. So there you have it. That's the framework that pros use every single day. The next time that pesky warning light comes on, you'll know exactly what to do. You have the process. So my question to you is, what problem are you going to solve first? Thanks for joining me.